Hi everyone, once again. We're back at GDG DevFest Ukraine 2017 edition. Right now I have with me Joanna Chwastowska from DeepMind. She is the growth manager and engineering coach at DeepMind.
Hello everybody.
Not the title you see every day. So tell us more about your day-to-day life. What does it mean?
Sure. It's a new role that is an experiment, so we'll see how it goes. But the idea is to have on the engineering team someone who is the people side of a people manager. So someone who focuses on people's well-being, engineers' well-being, their growth, their career, how we think about not only things that we are immediately working on, but on the longer term goals and, making team work better.
Okay. Here's some minor technical stuff. Let's continue. Everything's fine. But what do you mean by being a coach? So what your day-to-day looks like?
So, I agree.
How do you empower engineers?
I would say it's mostly about observing, listening, and talking with people, actually trying to understand each individual on the team. We are so different as people, as engineers. There are people who are super focused when they can be left alone with a task and they can just nail it down, working through all the beats of it. Yeah. There are others who are much more empowered if they are involved in all the decisions, in all the meetings. They feel like they are a part of the thing they are building. They have the influence on the direction of where we are heading, right? So I don't believe in one solution that fits all. More about creating the environment where everyone can be the best of themselves. So yes, it's very hard to tell what they do every day. I am a part of the team. I observe and I support. And I try to create a safe environment in which people can build trust, can trust each other, because if we are in a safe environment, we can take risks. We can get ourselves out of the comfort zone. We can, try new things that we haven't done before. Yeah, without being afraid. Of course, being slightly afraid, but knowing that, you have the support. Someone will cover your back if something doesn't go as well as you would think.
At which stage should companies have a person like that?
So, probably there's, again, not
there is no
one number to that. But I think the important part is if you have the idea, if you start working on something new, there is only you. There is maybe a couple of you as founders, someone from business side, someone from product side, someone from engineering side. Right? This is how it usually works. At some point, you start adding people to your team. And that's also where the most work actually happens. This is like when people start to be on this hype of, yes, we are building something together. And the risk is you are so focused on what you are building that you are running for so long that you start to burn out. How do you prevent that? How do you add new people to the team so that they feel welcomed, they feel as a part of this team, not the burden for the team, right? Because onboarding is a complicated process, right? Yeah. It takes time. You need to share knowledge. You need to share best practices. You need to make this person a part of the team, not changing that much the culture of the team and how it operates. So I would say at the very beginning, this is the role of the manager. This is the role of the CTO. This is the role of whoever is responsible for each particular team. To also have time for people and to listen to them and to understand their needs. As you grow, there are a couple of, well-known patterns for handling that. One is you start to have tech leads and tech lead managers who basically start to be responsible for smaller teams. You scale because you create sub-teams. Yeah. It's very natural, right? The only problem in engineering with that is usually people who are good tech leads are not necessarily good people managers. We reward them and we promote them and we teach them to perform things that are technology focused, not people focused, at least not always, right? When you start to be people manager, you have to start, basically listening to the person that you are talking with, not the project you are talking about.
Not the technology.
Yeah, not the technology, yes. You are not there to help them. You are also there to help them make the technical discussion, the technical decision. But you are there to understand how they can work better, how they can have more impact.
Like the person becomes your project. Like
yes.
The technology you work with is the person.
Yes, and I think the important decision point in here is if engineers you have on the team have the will to learn those things, if they want to be involved, because the hard part about it is you stop coding that much because you have to shift your time to people management, right? So if you start doing that, you feel like you are less productive, right? You don't have this instant gratification. Yes, like me too. I went through that. I know how hard it is. You stop having this instant gratification of, I implemented this feature today. My code is live. It's submitted. It's there. It's there. You can see what I've done. You end up, at the end of the day, you are super tired. You had like really been busy the whole day. You've been involved in a lot of meetings. You've been making decisions. You've been helping others. There is nothing physical.
You did not commit.
Yes, exactly.
There are no commits in Git.
Yes, so at the end of the day, you feel like, have I really even achieved something? The good thing is, longer term, if you start looking at actually the impact your team had, the things they delivered, the ways you help them to be better engineers, basically. It might be anything from actually just focusing on where each person, delivering feedback, where each person has still areas of development that they are blocking them at the moment from having more impact. Some people will not be great at communication. They will be sitting in a silo, coding, doing their job, not interfacing with others. And that will block them because at some point they will need information from other people. If they don't give information to others, the others will not give them information back, right? For others, that might be something else, like, you need to learn new technology, you need to try this, you need to try that. So just focusing on other people and enabling them enables the team to actually deliver better things.
As a whole team together.
As a whole team together, yeah. Sometimes it's totally project related. So sometimes it's asking questions like, are we really building what we think we are building? Is what we are building really needed? Because for some projects, the actually good decision, engineering decision, is we will not build this, right?
True.
We will not waste, we will not waste these 3 months delivering this. Instead, we will focus here. So the spectrum of your impact can be very wide. It's just very hard sometimes to measure and figure out, that was really me.
Yeah. I have 2 questions I want to ask, and I don't know in which order should I ask them. First, you just touched a very interesting topic, moving from developer position to management position. And your day-to-day life changes, your goals change, and the way you operate basically changes. How would you, coach a person to move from solely development position to team leader or management position?
So I think the important part in this is realizing that it doesn't happen one day, that you just wake up in the morning and you are a manager. And also, it does not have to happen, it doesn't have to come with the title you have.
Okay.
So what I would do is I would encourage every one of us, everyone who's, the developer sitting and coding day to day, to start thinking about not myself, because for me that's the difference between individual contributor and the leader, or the team facilitator, however we call this role. There is the difference between I focus on myself. Those are my needs. Those are things that make me more productive. Those are things that bother me, so I have to solve them. And instead of myself, myself being the focus, I start to focus on people around me. So I start to observe. I start to spend time figuring out not John said something which pissed me off. But why did John say something like this? What was John's perspective on the subject? What I can do to try to resolve the situation between us, not to show my sarcastic response to him in a way. Like, you know, it's very easy. Like, if we think about ourselves, the first snappy, funny response you may have at the end of your tongue is not necessarily what will help to resolve the situation.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So I would say start observing, start seeing how people interact. The best would be actually to have someone you can look up to around you, like, you know, some senior manager you can observe. So I love learning by example. I love having, like, you know, smart, ambitious people around myself with experience that I can just mimic.
Yeah.
Because then it's things like you know, why did he did that? Just trying to, like, you know, slice and dice and understand the dynamics of someone's behavior and what parts of it can I incorporate. Because there is another trap. You may want to be like someone, and you don't want to be like someone. You want to have your style. You have to be authentic as a leader, because otherwise I don't think people will follow. People don't want fake leaders. People don't want, like, you know, someone coming and saying, this is the vision, we will follow this vision, everything will be fine. I just read this book and it'll be great. That doesn't work. We have to, like, you know, develop our own style, and probably what helps with that the most is being open to feedback. So actually actively encouraging people to come back to you and tell what works for them, what doesn't work. And that's also hard, because how often do you tell your manager where they fail, right?
Like, actually, that's like another really interesting question here. How do you encourage, like, if you are a manager, how do you help people give you feedback? How do you, I don't know. I feel that this will work if you build, like, the trust in the team and the culture where everybody can speak up what they think. But still, it doesn't work always. Like, but managers need to get feedback as well in order even to improve themselves.
Yes, that's very true. I think Google had a couple of good approaches to that.
Okay.
One was, there was, and I think there still is, really almost agnostic approach to levels. So any person in, I don't know, like what, 70,000 people company at the moment can send email to anyone, and this email probably will get read and replied to. Which means, you know, if you really feel like sharing something with the founder, you can do that. There is nothing that blocks you. You can probably even get a one-to-one time with them if you want to discuss something. And the other thing is introducing mechanisms that allow for this feedback gathering in a structured way and an anonymous way. Okay. It's much easier to sit down and think about how my manager's behavior affects my work if I'm given a structured questions, you know, defining those aspects I should be focusing on, scoring, and even more, being able to compare that in time. So to say, like, you know, we assessed my manager as a poor communicator in Q1. Let's see if they can work, and by the end of the year, be much higher scored on this particular thing.
Scoring and measuring. That was one of the questions which I kind of backed in my memory. I've heard that you worked on Project Oxygen, and I read the book by Laszlo Bock about the Project Oxygen, and how did it look like? Okay, tell me the story about Project Oxygen.
Probably saying I worked on it is a bit overstatement. I was at the company when it was all happening, and I was involved in the trainings and stuff. But I think the interesting part is that the Project Oxygen was born actually from a totally opposite idea, where there was a lot of people at Google who thought managers are actually not needed. Okay. So the first goal before the Oxygen started was to prove that managers are not needed.
Okay, like the goal was to prove that.
Yeah, you can remove managers.
Make no sense.
Managers make no sense. Let's remove them. Let's let engineers work as they want. And the first finding was they actually do matter, and people care for having them and having the direction. So the Project Oxygen was formed to identify what makes the good manager. It's not just the sole presence of the manager that helps people. It's something that this manager does that helps them, right? And for that, they used the surveys that were already run in the company that were assessing managers. They did a lot of interviews because Google had a pretty long history of recognizing good managers. There was the Great Manager Award that was, annually given to people, and actually regardless of their level. So it wasn't always like just for VPs. It was like for some engineering managers with probably like 5-8 reportees as well, who their team felt very strong about, that they are great managers. So they were talking with those people, trying to understand what do they do, what they don't do, with their teams to understand, like, why they actually feel so strong, where the manager actually supports them. And they identified initially 8 key features that if people do, not everyone do all of them, that's the other thing. But if you try to be aware of those things, if you try to be good in those areas, you have high chances of being considered good manager. And those are things that, the range of those things is pretty wide. And that's actually what I'll be talking during the keynote today about, trying to describe, like, what to focus on, where to seek your growth. Those are things from like, really caring for the person you are working with, not treating people as resources, treating them as human beings, right? All of us, we have our better days, we have our not that great days. Different things happen in our life that affect how we work. So just being aware of, I'm here for you as a person. I'm here to support you. I understand you have a sick child at home. You probably should just go home because your mind will be there regardless, right? Because you do that, this person will be there for you when you need their help. And it's, again, regardless whether that's a project work or personal stuff that you are dealing with, they will try to give back because you build trust together. Yeah. So that's one example of that. But the other example is, for example, the engineers hate micromanagement. Engineers hate to be told, those are the steps you have to follow to achieve the goal, and that's the only way, right? Exactly. At the same time, engineers really love being coached and having career development conversations. They want to be pushed in the right direction. They want to understand where they have to grow. It's just, not giving them solutions, showing them the other perspective, right? Letting them make the decision how they want to get there, even if they want to get there. Like, that's the example, like, if I'm to have someone to consider being a manager, I want them to understand, first of all, what does it mean for them? What if they want it because they want to advance their career, if they want it because they really care for their impact and they see this as a next step for increasing this impact, or is there anything else at play that is involved in this decision? And also, are they ready for the consequences of the decision? Are they ready to get rid of the instant gratification of writing code and starting to grow as a manager in different areas, right? Yeah. So basically, Project Oxygen, and there is a great externally available website that is reworkwithgoogle.com. That actually published most of the findings of the Oxygen project with a lot of training materials. So if anyone is interested in actually growing as a people manager, I would strongly recommend to just work with this site. Try to identify your management style. Learn new things, try new things. There'll always be failure. That's the other thing. It's like, don't assume you will be great day one. You will start, you will fail. You'll get harsh feedback from people. People will come to you and they will tell you, like, you suck as a manager. Like, literally, how about you come back to coding?
Stop doing that.
And you'll be very, very tempted to do so. So again, the question is, like, how do you learn from that? How you incorporate the feedback and how you try to be better next time?
We had an interesting long conversation. Maybe let's wrap it up a bit with getting back to DeepMind. A lot of people heard about, like, AlphaGo and different achievements. Can you tell us what's ultimate DeepMind goal? Like, what are you working on next?
So the ultimate goal, as stated in DeepMind's vision, is to solve intelligence and make it applicable to solving the real world problems.
Okay.
What I love about this mission is, on one hand, it's about advancing technology. So on one hand, it's about the tools, the solutions, the research part of DeepMind, where you have people experimenting and pushing the boundaries of what is possible. But on the other hand, you are not living in this theoretical space where it's just like pure science, but you are trying to find immediate applications to the problems that we have. Be that health, be that saving energy, and so on. Like you can expand the area of applications probably infinitely, and then from those applications, selecting the ones that are the most important to start immediately working on. Yeah. So that's basically DeepMind, and that means that we need people who are involved in research on one hand. So a lot of machine learning, PhDs, people who want to push the technology hard. But it also means, and that's what people are not always aware of, we really need strong engineers. Engineers who not necessarily have experience with machine learning, but who can think what is possible, who can push what is possible, and find applications of the tools we have into the real life, focused actually on solving the problems.
Okay, let's wrap this up. For anyone there, please join Joanna's keynote today if you're at the conference, or please read through Rework, google.com, go through DeepMind website, and get even more inspiration than you can imagine. Joanna, thanks for being here and for the conversation today.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.